Good morning, everyone. In our previous lecture, we have seen related to templates. What is template? Why we are using template? What is the use of it actually? Inheritance with the template, function overloading in the template, function template, class template, and we have seen many examples of it, right? Why we are using the template, that is just for a different kind of data type. You don't have to write your functions or your class again, just check off the data type, right? So for the different data types, if you want to implement the same functions, at that time you can use templates. You can define your type, that this type will be given at the time of the function call. So whenever you are calling a function, at that time as a part of your parameter, you are passing data type of that particular parameters. So this way you can reduce your code. Fine. That is why we are having very small programs in this templates. This is what we have seen in our previous lecture. And now today what we are going to see is exception handling. We'll see today how you can handle the runtime errors that we will discuss today. All the contents and figures, everything is taken from E. Balaguru Sami reference book. I hope I am audible to you guys. So we can start the session. Okay, fine. So just a quick review, right? What is the template? Using a template, we can generate the generic class and function. Generic means in general, right? So here, a very first program we have seen that here as a T, because you are saying that the T and this is your type name. Here you can also use the keyword class. Both will work, right? So you are saying that template in between this triangular bracket, data type will be given, and whatsoever the data type will be given at the time of function call, right, that you need to consider as a data type of this function return type as well as for your formal parameters, right? So if from integer main I am calling the function my max, this is my function my max, and I'm giving 3 and 4, but 3 and 4 at the runtime only I'm saying that this is integer one. So in this triangular bracket, if I'm giving integer, means this t will be treated as an integer, right? So here return type would be integer, your data type would be integer, everything will be as an integer. So the compiler will internally generates and add such kind of code for each and every line, right? Here you are writing it as float. So this function, every data type will be replaced with the float. Here is a character. So this is how it will be expanded at the compile time. So they are, compared with the macros, because macro is also the same kind of thing, right? They will be expanded whenever you are writing hash define pi and 3.14. So wherever you have written pi, that will be expanded as 3.40 at the compile time, right? So how you can write a class template, right? Whenever you are creating the object of any of the particular class, at that time only you are specifying the data type. So over here also I have taken this T number 1, number 2, then again we would be having a constructor, again some kind of data type. This is very normal function, right? Display. Here I'm having again add, again some return type, return number 1 plus number 2. So here also the data type 1, 2, 3 and 4. So whenever we are creating a class object, here I'm creating the object IC and I'm passing value 2 and 1, which are the integer one. So if I'm specifying this as integer, so everywhere in my class, this T will be replaced by integer. And the another value, I just want to give a float kind of value. So again, I can create another object and I'm passing over here float value. So this class will be converted for your float data. So a single class, but you can pass any of the data type for your variables. So how useful this actually template is, right? And more useful is your STL, standard template library, which is, which would be a very next topic, right? And that is the last topic of our C++, and we'll finish our syllabus, right? Overloading and the template and inheritance. This is what we have seen, right? Now the next is exception handling. So before introducing you the exception handling, okay, just quickly write down your enrollment number into the chat. Meanwhile, I'll open the program. I hope you have written your numbers. Done? No. The count is increasing. Good. Now no more numbers, right? It's over. Okay. So a very first program, what I've done over here is I've taken three numbers, three different variables, A, B, and C. And here I'm saying that enter the value of A and B, right? User will give some values, okay? And here I'm simply doing this. C is equals to A divided by B. And finally, I am printing some results over here that C out result is this, fine? Or any other lines, right? Any other lines that I can add over here, okay? Now, when I'll run this program, here the program termination, that is totally depends on the user, that what kind of value user is providing. Say suppose I'm writing 10 and 2. Result will be 5 and everything will be printed, right? And program terminates in a normal way. Fine. So that is okay. Now again I'll run this program where I'm giving some unexpected values like 10 divided by 0. Okay. What will happen? My program won't get terminated in the normal way. It's continuously blinking. That's it. And 2-3 times more enters and it will end abruptly. Right. So nothing is happening, right? Nothing is happening. I'm continuously giving, entering anything, right? So this is what my program is showing the behavior. Whenever user is giving such kind of errors which computer, I mean your program cannot handle at runtime. This is not your syntax error, right? This is not your syntax error. Because if the user is giving a valid input at that time, this program is running perfectly. But the error is where whenever you are giving some of the values which is out of bound or divide by zero, such kind of values, I mean, mathematically division by zero is not possible, that we already know, right? So that is why we don't have to give either such kind of value or the second option, because you cannot bound users, right? User can give any of the value, that is the user's choice, right? So what you have to do, the only way you have to handle this runtime errors, and that is your exception handling. Getting this thing? Latecomers attendance won't be considered, because every time we are saying this, join on time, otherwise I won't consider your attendance, right? So you don't have to write the numbers, right? You may even leave the meet if you wish. Every time whenever we are starting the session, at that time only 48, 49, and after that every people will come, right? So that is not allowed. You can leave the meet or you can stay in the meet. Choice is yours. Fine. So this is what I was explaining before in a theory, that what is exception handling, right? So here you can simply check the output by giving the value of b is equals to 0, because divided by 0 that value is not possible, right? And now we will learn what is exception handling. Another one, say suppose you have declared the array of, I mean a of 5 is equals to some of the values, right? 4, 8, 9, 2, 3, any integer array or float array, any of the array, right? This is what you are giving the value. And now you are saying that a of 10 equals to 50. What will happen? Anyone who knows this thing? I know my array size is only till 5, right? So a of 5 till that, I mean till a of 4 I can give some values, a of 0, a of 1, 2, 3 and 4, total 5. But I am giving a of 10 is equals to 50. What will happen? Again, this is one kind of, yes, segmentation fault. This is again one kind of runtime error. Okay? This is again one kind of runtime error. So this is what we need to deal with, right? So runtime errors are also known as exception. Exception handling is the process to manage the runtime errors by converting your abnormal termination of a program to normal termination of the program. This is what our goal, because we want to handle such kind of runtime errors. Because see, many of the times what will happen, my code would be around of 500 lines, right? And say suppose on the fifth line, if user will enter such kind of value that my runtime error is occurring. Okay, so what I need to do is, if my error is there on fifth line, so my rest of this 495 statements won't run, right? So that is for sure, right? But I don't want such kind of things. I want that. Okay, fine. If in such of the portion, if in some of the area, you find that over here you are having a doubt, right? You are having a doubt that, say suppose user will enter over here 0, then and only then here some errors will be there, runtime error, okay, which you need to handle. So that doubtful statements you need to write into a block which is known as try block. And if any of the error will be there, it will directly catch that error. A very normal thing, if virus will be there in your computer, right? So the antivirus software will simply catch it, right? So the same kind of thing. If any runtime error will be there in between this block in the try, because you are having doubt that in this particular statement I have written A divided by B kind of statement. And over here, if the user will give the value of B is equals to 0, then error will be there for sure. Okay, so such kind of doubtful statement that you need to write into a try, that please try the statements, right? If any error is there, simply go to the catch and again back to your normal execution for this 495 statements. Getting this thing? Why we are doing this thing? Exception handling. If you will not handle the exception till 5 lines, your program will be executed. But what will be there after fifth line? What will be there after fifth line? It will just outside of your program, right? And that is abnormal termination. Okay, and it won't execute any other statements. This is what it will do, right? So that is known as exception. Runtime errors means exception. So an exception is a problem that arises during the execution of the program, not at the compile time. So they are not the compile time errors or the syntax errors or anything that what you say, right? It's only come at the runtime. And if you are giving such kind of statements like divided by 0 or something like this, then and only then, right? If the users are giving normal values, then there won't be any exception, right? So for example, divide by 0 kind of errors will occur. So for that, what we are having, try, catch and throw. C++ provide this 3 specialized keyword for this purpose. Try, that represent a block of code that can throw an exception. It will search for it, right? If they found any kind of runtime error in between this block, it will simply throw your exception, which will be catched by this catch keyword, of course, right? This catch will represent a block of code that is executed when a particular exception is thrown. And throw, that is used to throw an exception. This is done using a throw keyword, right? So try, catch and throw. We will see the examples, you will be more clear. Okay, so here is a try block, right? It will detect and throw an exception, right? Whenever there is an exception, it will directly go to your catch block and it will catch and handle your exception. So what should be the syntax? Try and catch will be there together always. It is not like that you have written something inside the try. You are writing try, then some of the statements over here, right? That what you are writing. And then some of the lines of C out and scene and something like this. And then you are writing catch. This is not allowed. Okay, in between this try block ending and catch block starting, nothing should be there. Okay, nothing should be there. Once your try will be finished, directly the next line would be catch. Okay, directly. Nothing will be there in between this two. After this catch, again you want to continue with your normal statements, that you can. But in between try and catch, you don't have to write any statements, right? Okay. So over here, again, this is your try block, right? Here, if you are finding any kind of errors, right, whenever the error will be detected, at that time you will simply throw that exception. So this block will detect and throw the exception. This is only the task for this. And here catch, it would be having the argument that what kind of error they have catch. And some of the statements, I mean see out kind of general statements will be over here, exception handling block. So we'll see the example again. This is what I have modified my same program, right, in some different way with the use of try and catch. Here what I've done is I've made one function of division, okay, which will return some value double, right? It will be having a integer argument because my argument will be integer, but once I would be having my answer, that would be in double, maybe, right? Because we are dividing the values, right? Though we need to cast over here also, but that I'm not doing right now. Now here I'm checking that if your b equals to 0, then and only then the runtime exception may generate, may arise, right? So if b equals to 0, then simply throw b. So here you are throwing your exception. And here that will be catch over here. Why? Because you are calling this function division xy from this try block. Because many of the time it will happen that you will be having more functionality. Say suppose you have made one program of calculator. Over there, whenever you are having a different operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, you don't have any problem. But whenever there is a fourth operation, which is your division, at that time only you will be having that chances that your second variable, if the user will enter as a 0, then there is a problem. So that kind of statement or that kind of function call you can write inside a try block. Okay, so if any of the problem is over here in this function, it will be directly catch by this catch statement. So just I'm showing you that what we have done over here, fine, and then will be there on this integer main, fine. So here what I'm doing is if b equals to 0, then it will throw an exception. Which kind of exception it is? I mean integer value, right? So I'll simply throw this integer value. That here is the problem, right? Otherwise, else, if your b value is not equals to 0 and it is a normal any of the value, then simple what you need to do in the division function, a simple code written a by b, a divided by b, right? But if your b equals to 0, then and only then you want to throw the exception, right? Now in integer main, I've given some value of x is equals to 10, y is equals to 0, and double z is equals to 0. Here I can take this value of x, y, and z or any other values that you can take from users also, right? So simple, you have to write over here C out, C in kind of statement. But I have taken right now as a static one. Okay. Now into this try block, I've created a block. Inside that, here I'm calling my function division with the value x and y. and y is 0, so there will be an exception, that is for sure, right? And here I'm simply printing the value of z. So my question is that here the value of z will be printed or not? Value of z will be printed or not? Anyone, if they are going to reply? Fine. So let's check for the output, and say suppose over here the error will be there, right? And now they will directly go to the catch, because here the problem occurred, right? So here is the catch. Catch is having integer m value, and here your error message will be printed by CERR. If you have heard this, right? You can even write C out, then also it will be totally fine, right? In the another examples, in generally in the catch, I used to refer C out, right? But CERR is specially for your errors, right? So here I'm writing that x divided by this value m, because I have referred as my formal parameter this y as m, divided by m exception raised, right? And simple written 0. So let's check for the output what it will show you. Have you seen this? Directly over here, this 10 divide by 0 exception raised, right? So they won't print the C out Z. Why? Because from whichever line there would be an error, it will immediately come outside of this try block and it will be there on your catch block immediately. So say suppose over here you have written 500 statements, right? So over here, if the error is on your very first line, then this 499 statement won't be executed if you have written this into the try block only. So what you need to do generally, wherever you will be having a error kind of statement or you are having a doubt on the statement, only those statements you need to write inside the try, not all the statements. So if you want to write your remaining 499 statements, you have to write over here. Getting this thing, yes or no? Because I'm not getting the response from you guys. So I hope you are listening, right? Okay, so outside of the try block, you have to write down it. Inside the try, you are not actually testing for 500 statements. 500 statements are not having problem, only 2 to 3 statements I'm having a doubt on it. So only those 2 or 3 statements you are going to write inside a try. Okay, this is what you are doing. Getting this thing? Okay. Fine. So this is what we have seen, right? Now the another program, this is a very similar program to that. Here I have taken the values from the user, right? And then I have shown you this program again over here. That's your another program. Again, integer a, b and c, enter the value of a and b, user will enter the value of a and b, and then I'm taking a try block, right? In that I'm writing if b is not is equals to 0, right? So what you need to do, your normal operation, that c is equals to a divided by b, and result is the c, fine. But else if your b equals to 0, then throw the b. So here you are throwing the exception, you are throwing the error. Whenever you will throw, who will catch? Catch will catch, right? So it will directly go to this catch statement. Your whatsoever you have thrown as an argument, that is of type integer. So over here also you have to write integer kind of argument. So here I'm writing integer x. And in cout, simple. What I said is generally in our program, in the catch block, we are writing in cout only some user defined message, that is exception caught divided by 0. Such kind of statements, user defined statement, you are showing the error. Okay. So that will be printed. So say suppose I'm printing F9. Yeah. One more thing I'll say whenever I'll run the program. Here I'm giving normal value, suppose 10 and 2. What will be over here? Result is equals to 5. It is printed. It won't go in else part. It will not go in catch part. It will simply execute return 0 and your program is over. So meaning is what? If there would be a runtime error, then and only then it will go inside the catch block. Otherwise, it will never go inside the catch block, right? If there is an error, then and only then it will go to the catch. It is not like that every time whenever I have written something inside the try block, so catch will be executed. No, it is just a kind of if and else. You can imagine if the error is over here in the try, then and only then catch will be executed. If there is no error inside the try, then it's fine. No, your program will be executed normally. That's it. Okay, so there would be an MCQ kind of thing that say suppose the statement is correct or not. Try and catch both will be executed if once you have written something inside the try. No, it is not like that, right? If the error will be raised, then and only then it will be caught by your catch block, otherwise not. Okay, otherwise it is just like your normal program. But if over here we can check the output again with some value divided by 0, so 10 and 0. So see over here, whenever there would be an error, right, it will directly go to the catch. So here it will check that your b is not is equals to 0. No, but your b equals to 0, right? So it will directly go to the else part. It will throw the exception. It will go directly to your catch, and whatsoever you have written inside this catch block, that will be printed on your monitor screen. So here it is written exception caught divide by 0. That's it. So this is your program. Any doubt in this? Any doubt? No? Fine. Good. Okay. Now again, we would be having multiple catch statement over here, right? Multiple catch. This is the multiple catch, and this is, catch all. Okay, this is the catch all, and this is the multiple catch program. Now it is not like that. Try would be having only one catch, right? In my try block, say suppose I'm writing 3 or 4 lines, right? And I'm having a doubt in this 3 or 4 lines that it might possible that such kind of error will be there, it might possible the second kind of error will be there, or third kind of error would be there. So I am having three possibilities. I would be having, I have a doubt that this three kind of runtime error is possible. So whatsoever the possibilities are there, they that you have to mention over here as your catch. So single possibility, single catch, another possibility, another catch, third possibility, third catch. So it is a kind of thing that if you are having the antivirus, you would be having a Trojan horse, that kind of thing, or any other kind of virus, worm, anything is possible one, right? So a different categorized viruses are there. So they would be having such kind of coding. So here also, if I would be having a possibility of more than one kind of errors into my try block, so I'm giving all the possibilities over here via catch. So this is my very first catch. I can write over here another catch. I can write over here another catch. So number of possibilities. So it will check this kind of error has been occurred. No. Okay. Go for the second. This kind of error. No. Third kind of error. Okay. Yes. So here finally your whatsoever the parameter is given into the catch, that error has been caught. Getting this thing? So all the possibilities you are giving. So it is possible that there would be only one try, but multiple catch would be there. It is possible. You can provide more than one catch statement into your program. That is possible. That is allowed. So for that, we'll see another program. My screen is visible now? Anyone? Please respond. Otherwise, I need to restart everything, right? Okay, fine. Okay, so here I'm having another program that is for multiple catch, right? Here, what I did is I made one function that is void test. And here I'm passing one integer x. Okay. Now what I'm doing is so till what you have listened. I was explaining the program. I have almost finished it. Till what you have listened. Anyone? I'm at college and I'm facing a very poor network over here. I was explaining this program. Anyone, please let me know that till what you have listened. Ritesh, you can unmute yourself and please let me know quickly. Otherwise, we have to, we will not be able to finish this. I was about to show the program. Fine. So I have to explain again. Fine. So I've created one function over here that is void test, right? Inside that, in this try block, what I'm doing is I'm simply showing you that you can throw more than one kind of error. So here I'm throwing if your x value equals to 10, you are throwing integer kind of exception. Else, if your value is not is equals to 10, but instead of that 1, 2, 3, any of the value is there, then you have to throw the character exception. So two kind of exception I'm throwing, which will be catched over here as in first time integer x or a character kind of x. Whatsoever is a match, it will find automatically, and that kind of statement will be written over here that you have catch an integer or you have catch a character, right? This will be printed. So from integer main, what I'm doing is first time I'm giving test 10. So whenever I'm calling my function with the value 10, first time it will check if x equals to 10, then it will throw integer kind of exception. If I'm giving such kind of error that a test 65 or test 1, test 2, test 3, anything you will pass, at that time it will throw a character kind of exception, right? So this is what we are doing. So I'll simply run this program. First time it will catch an integer, second time catch a character. Okay, if say suppose you are giving over here 1, then also you will be having the same output, right? First time catch integer, second time catch a character, right? But if you want to specify everything, that if x equals to 10, then throw this. Else if x equals to 1, then throw any float kind of error. If x equals to 2, then such kind of error. So some specific errors for each and every try block, you want to specify a particular kind of catch, then you have to provide for all the condition different catch. 1 catch, 2 catch statement, 3, 4, 5, as much as you can create. But say suppose one kind of error exception statement you missed it, right? So your runtime error handling will be failed. So what you can do over here is, you can write a catch which is able to handle all the kind of exception. If you want write specific integer x or float x or character x or double x or long x, short x, any. If you are having a different kind of variables, you have to write over here a different kind of variable. Say suppose you are writing over here that is integer x. But what if you are throwing the character kind of thing? I have not written the statement over here. Say suppose. What will happen? If I am writing a simple statement like this, try, you are raising an exception over here. You are throwing one kind of exception over here. And inside a catch, you have written integer x. So this is not your integer value, right? So this catch is fail to catch such kind of exception. You have to provide particularly a character x or something like this. But I want one kind of catch which is able to handle all the exception. All the exception it is able to handle, whether it is integer, whether it is long, whether it is short, float, double, any exception will be there. It is able to catch your exception. So that is this catch all. This is known as catch all exception. What you need to do, catch and 3 dots, exactly 3 dot. It is not like that 1 dot, it is not like that 2 dot, exactly 3 dots you are writing, that is known as catch all exception. Okay, so this is what I've done over here. There is a special catch block called as a catch all, right? That can be used to catch all the type of exception, right? So you can see over here in the example, when I'll run this, it will directly go to this default exception, right? Because it will be caught by any of the exception. Default exception. Why? Because the first one is not matched. The first one is not matched, no, right? Because this is not an integer kind of, this is a character type of, but you haven't specified for the character. Now if you will simply throw over here a double kind of variable exception, right? Let's say suppose double d, right? And you are throwing d over here, right? Any double kind of exception, you have to give over here the value maybe, right? Otherwise it will show you an error. Again it will go to the default exception. So whatsoever the value you will give over here, right, double, short, integer, long, it will directly go to this default one. And now say suppose I'm giving over here integer I is equals to 1 or something like this, and I'll give over here I. So what is printed over here? Cot 1. Why? Because it will go to your very first exception. Whenever your parameters are matched, it will check for appropriate catch. But if they are not finding the appropriate catch, at that time only it will go to your this default one. I hope it is clear. Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? Clear? Okay, fine. So this is what your exception, right? The next is rethrow. Rethrow is what? A try-catch block can be nested even, right? And it can be rethrown from your catch also. Generally what is happening inside your try, you are writing throw. Whenever in your try block you are writing throw, at that time it will go to your catch block always, right? But what if you are writing again something throw from your catch block? Now who will catch? Again you have dropped your catch over here. So who will catch? Another catch statement will be there, of course, to catch your thrown error, right? So this catch is also be nested one, and which error will be rethrown, right? Only by the keyword throw. So we'll see this example and we'll wind up our session, right? A very last example. And for that, I don't want to, continue this topic again in the next time. Okay. So over here in integer main, what you have written, nested try catch block. Inside one try, another try will be there. So that is fine, right? Here try block, inside that you have written throw 20. Some integer value you have thrown, fine. So it will be catch over here, that integer n, but it is partially 1. After that, you are again rethrowing an exception. So how you can rethrow? There is no keyword like rethrow. Huh? That is not a keyword. You only have to write throw and semicolon. That's it. Only throw. So that is nothing but rethrowing an exception. Now over here again the exception has been raised. Who will catch this? So over here again one catch block you have given, and here it will show you the remaining catches here. So I'll run this program. First time what I've done is, from this nested try, I have thrown 20. So here it will directly go to the catch and partially will be printed over here. And now again I'm rethrowing the exception. So at that time this remaining will be there and it will be printed. Fine. Because after raising an exception inside the catch over here, it will go to the outer catch again, right? So that's all about the exception handling. We have finished this. Any doubt from your side? So next time we'll see STL, which is a very last topic of our very last unit, right? So on the Thursday, we'll be able to finish our syllabus. On 29th, we'll wind up this ODP, right? After that, we'll start with the revision sessions and all, right? But we have finished our main topics, new topics, everything has been covered. Any doubt in this? Quickly. No doubts? Fine. Okay, so that's all from my side. Thank you all. You may leave the meet. Thank you.